Good morning, readers. I left us on a cliffhanger yesterday, didn't I? A bit of a cliffhanger. If you remember, George and Julia were trying to put together Ivan's puzzle, and Ivan was getting a little frustrated because it was taking longer than he expected. I'm going to read today. We're just going to see how far we get. We're getting so close to the end. So many good things are about to happen, but I do want you to have your Words I Love book. I need to tell you a little story. I told Miss Gina about these little Words I Love book, and she may be asking you to use them as you're writing your poetry. So keep these close by. Don't lose them. I already added a word before I got on my video this morning, and the word is home. I just felt like I needed to have that word in here. It's such an important thing in our book right now. It's also kind of a really important thing to us right now because we are spending so much time at home, right? Okay. Chapter next. It's called Finally. Julia and George take the pictures to the ring where there's room to see them all. An hour passes as they try to assemble my puzzle. Ruby's awake now, and she and Bob and I watch. Ivan, Ruby says, is that a picture of me? Yes, I say proudly. Where am I supposed to be? That's a zoo, Ruby. See the walls and the grass and the people looking at you? Ruby squints. Who are all those other elephants? You haven't met them, I say. Yet. There's that word. It's a very nice zoo, Ruby says with an approving nod. Bob nudges me with his cold nose. It is indeed. In the ring, Julia pumps her fist in the air. Yes, she cries. I told you, Dad. There it is. H-O-M-E. Home. H-O-M-E. And that is why I wanted to add that to our book. George gazes at the letters. He spins around to look at me. Maybe it's just a coincidence, Jules. You know, a once-in-a-trillion kind of thing, like the old saying about the chimp and the typewriter. Give him long enough and he'll write a novel. I make a grumbling noise, as if a chimp could write a letter, let alone a book. Then how do you explain the rest of this, Julia demands. The picture of Ruby in the zoo. How do you know it's a zoo? George asks. See the circle on the gate? There's a red giraffe in it. George squints and tilts his head. Are you sure that's a giraffe? I was thinking more along the lines of a deformed cat. It's the logo for the zoo, Dad. It's on all their signs. Explain that. George gives her a helpless smile. I can't begin to. I'm just saying there has to be a logical explanation. Look how big this is. Julia puts the last piece of Ruby's right ear into place. It's huge. It is definitely large, George agrees. Julia watches me. She chews on her thumbnail, and I see the question in her eyes. She turns back to the paintings and she stares at them, looking, truly looking. A slow smile dawns on Julia's face. Dad, she says, I have an idea, a big idea. Julia races around the edge of my painting, her arms spread wide. A billboard-size idea. Not following you. I think this was meant to be a billboard. That's what Ivan wants. George crosses his arms over his chest. What Ivan wants? He repeats slowly. And you know this because you two have been chatting? Because I'm an artist and he's an artist. Says George. Julia clasps her hands together. Come on, Dad, I'm begging you. George shakes his head. Nope, not doing that. Nope, no way, no billboard. I'll get the ladder, Julia says. You get the glue. I know it's dark, but the billboard's lit. Mac'll fire us, Jules. Julia considers. But think of the publicity, Dad. Everybody would know Ruby. You want me to put up a sign that shows Ruby in a zoo with the word home in giant letters. George gestures toward my pictures. A sign, incidentally, that just happens to have been made by a gorilla. Exactly. And you want me to do this without Mac's permission, George asks. Exactly. No, George says. No way. Julia goes to the edge of the ring, careful not to step on any paintings. She picks up Mac's claw stick. She walks back and hands it to her father. George runs his fingers along the blade. She's just a baby, Dad. Don't you want to help her? But how would it help, Jules? Even if a lot of people see Ivan's sign, it doesn't mean anything's going to change. Not exactly sure yet. Yet! There's that word again, Julia shakes her head. Maybe people will see the sign and they'll know this isn't where Ruby belongs. Maybe they'll want to help too. Oh, George sighs. He looks at Ruby. She waves her trunk. It's a matter of principle, Dad. Principal. Ple, George corrects. Dad, Julia says softly, what if Ruby ends up like Stella? George looks at me, at Ruby, at Julia. He drops the claw stick. The ladder, he says quietly, is in the storage locker. The next morning, I watch Mac's car slam to a halt in the parking lot. He leaps out. He stares at the billboard. His jaw is open. He doesn't move for a long time. Think he's happy? Think he's not happy. Mad human. A mad gorilla is loud, but a mad human can be loud too, especially when it's throwing chairs, turning over tables, and breaking the cotton candy machine. Phone call. Mac is kicking the trash can across the food court when the phone rings. He answers it, face red, sweating. What the? He demands. He glares at me. I don't know what you're, he starts to say, but then he stops to listen. Who? Julia who? He asks Usher, George's kid. She's the one who called you? More talking. With the phone to his ear, Mac comes to my cage, eyeing me suspiciously. Yeah, he says. He paints, sure. We have been selling his art for quite a while now. There's another long pause. Yeah, absolutely it was my idea. Mac nods. A smile starts in the corner of his mouth. Photos? No problem. You want to see him in action? Come on down. Have a look. We're open 365 days a year. Can't miss us. We're right off of I-95. Mac picks up the overturned trash can. Yeah, I think he'll be adding more pictures. It's what do you call it? A work in progress. When the call is done, Mac shakes his head. Impossible, he says. An hour later, a man with a camera comes to take my picture. He's from the local paper, the one that Julia called. How about you take one of me with my elephant, Mac suggests. He drapes his arm around Ruby's back, grinning as the camera clicks. Perfect, the man says. Perfect, Mac agrees. So it turns out that they're getting some publicity. Some people are excited about what's going on, and they're coming down to see what's going to happen. I wonder if this is what Ivan was hoping would happen. A star again. A photo on my billboard is in the newspaper. Mac tapes the story onto my window. Each day, more curious people arrive. They park in front of the billboard. They point and they shake their heads and they take photos. Then they come to the mall and they buy my paintings. While visitors watch, I dip my hands in fresh buckets of paint. I make pictures for the gift shops and pictures to add to the billboard. Trees with birds. A newborn elephant with a glittering black eye, a squirrel, a bluebird, a worm. I even paint Bob so he can be on the billboard too. I can tell he likes the picture, although he says it didn't quite capture his distinguished nose. Every afternoon, Mac and George add my pictures to the billboard, while people slow their cars and watch them work. Drivers honk and wave. My gift shop pictures now cost $60 with a frame. The Ape Artist. I have a new name. People call me the Ape Artist. The primate Picasso. Picasso is an artist. I have visitors from morning till night. So does Ruby. But nothing's changed for her. Every day at 2, 4, and 7, Ruby plods through the sawdust with Snickers on her back. Every night she has bad dreams. Bob, I say, after I've soothed Ruby to sleep with a story, my idea isn't working. Bob opens one eye. Be patient. I'm tired of being patient, I say. Interview. This evening, a man and a woman come to interview Mac, and also Julia and George. The man has a large and heavy camera perched on his shoulders. He films me as I make my pictures. He films Ruby in her cage with her foot roped to the bolt in the floor. Mind if I take a look around, he asks. Mac waves his hand. Be my guest. While Mac and the woman talk, the cameraman walks through the mall. He pans his camera right and left and up and down. When his eyes fall on the claw stick, he stops. He trains the camera on the gleaming blade, and then he moves on. What do you think the cameraman is noticing? What do you think might happen next? I'm going to leave us on another bit of a cliffhanger. Oh my goodness, this book. I told you. Do you love it? I love it so much. Anyway, I will read again tomorrow. I only added one book to my word book today, Home. I don't know. Did you add more than that? You can add another one. Are you finding words in other places in your day that you're adding to your book? I'm going to look today as I'm doing other things and see if I can add some more words to my book. Okay. Have a good day, guys.